everyone. It has been some time since we did our Better Sex, Better Life. And today is at episode 11. We have the relationship guide. So today we are very, very happy to have Shireen. Shireen is formerly a beauty queen. Then, upon her completion of Master in Clinical Psychologist, she is now a clinical psychologist who is using mindfulness-based connective therapy to help clients to, manage whatever issue. Like today, we are talking about relationship issue. Okay, and of course, recently with the pandemic, I'm sure a lot of people are more aware of mental health. And Shireen also does help counseling and help people to process through trauma. So Shireen, you want to say hi to our audience and briefly introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. And hello to everyone here today. Thank you for joining in. Really excited to be sharing on today's topic. I'd say it's very important, the relationship guide, not only for the relationship with ourselves, right, but also the relationship with others. So, once again, I'm Shireen Alik. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, and really excited for this topic today.
Okay, so we want to dive in, especially during this pandemic. So people are locked down in the same house. They never spend so much time with their spouse before, So I think there are a lot of friction, a lot of overwhelming feelings. Sometimes a mom who is working from home with their kids' online classes and husband at home, and changing role in the same roof is not real easy. I mean, a lot of times when we leave our home, we go to work, we are a colleague to people or staff, right? Or a CEO. And when we are home, we are a mom. Now, under the same roof, you are the mom, you're the partner, you're the cook, you're the cleaner. And, sometimes it becomes a bit more overwhelming. Okay, so
Too many roles
to,
at once. Yeah.
so today we want to talk a little bit about a relationship and also modern, especially modern relationship, right? Because I think maybe one generation ago or two generation ago, marriage is actually just an economic institution, right? Like who married to who, and sometimes they don't even see each other yet, right? Like first time, I mean, usually a matchmaking, right? Your parents decide who is your spouse. So it's basically an economic institution where we are being given a partner for life, especially for companionship, to have children, to social status. And women used to find a man for protection, to protect them and to provide to them. And usually for men, they usually find a woman who is like, especially Chinese, I'm not sure other races, like you want somebody who like can have children, right? They always look like, the old times, they will look at the buttock to see, are you able to bear more children? So usually men will look for a woman who can bear children and nurture the children. But of course, in a modern relationship, we no longer settle for companionship, right? Right now, we want everything from stability, we want commitment, we want trust, but the same kind of relationship, we also want surprise, mystery, and excitement. And this combination, of course, plus together with the traditional needs of family, having children, raise your kids together, write your paycheck, great sex, share a family together. So I think the list is long, it's like super long. So do you think, with all this such a long list, are we setting unrealistic expectation to what we really want? Like we are looking for like this amazing person to fulfill all our needs. Is it unrealistic?
Absolutely. Because if you look at it now, the focus has gone to the other person, as in, oh, maybe this other person is going to make me feel loved and special and make me feel sexy and be my best friend. All the different roles, which in the past, right, if we talk about people grew up in these small villages or let's say communities. So you've got your best friend, you've got the person that's going to maybe help you de stress on your day that was very overwhelming. But now people look to their partner to be that one person. And on top of that, they're saying, oh, and you need to help me do the housework, and you need to help me with the kids, and you need to give me great sex. Oh, and don't forget to be the best listening ear ever. Yeah, that's too much pressure on the partner. And what it does is it takes the focus away from the person themselves. So, for example, if someone feels that they're not happy, they immediately say, because my partner's not doing this, because my partner's not doing that, when he or she does this, I'll be happy. But now you've made someone else responsible for your happiness. So, with all of this, what we want to look at, yes, how people are dating has changed, how people are getting married has also changed, but perhaps the expectation is too high. And if you think about it, divorce rates are very high as well because the intention of getting married is not clearly defined and people's roles in the marriage, it's not clearly defined before entering the marriage.
True, true. So, what do you think should be the definition of marriage?
It's compromise to an extent, but it should
Okay.
also be who is going to complement you well. So, for
Mhm.
example, let's say you love to go hiking and you love to go hiking at 6 in the morning. Okay. If you meet someone who says, I like to wake up at noon, and
Okay.
I think that going out in nature should only be done in the evenings, do you
Okay.
think they're going to be very happy with each other? Because one
No.
partner is all the time going to be saying, wake up at 6, we have to go hiking. Wake up at 6, we have to go hiking. And the other partner is going to feel like, oh, I have to do this for you. They don't actually want to do it. So now they're going to look at this person is becoming draining for them, which means their marriage they feel is becoming draining for them.
Yeah.
Differences is good to have, but it still has to be compatible, it has to work.
True, true. I always think that there will always be a better person, but doesn't mean the better person is compatible to you, right? So,
Yes.
so I think when we are being brought up, our parents didn't tell us about things like compatibility. You share the same value, share the same lifestyle, right? Like you wake up in the morning, or this person is a morning person or a night person. You share that kind of same lifestyle. So I think it's really important that if you are entering into a marriage, of course, chemistry must be there.
Yes.
If you don't have chemistry, it's really hard. And I think values is really important, like your life values, and also lifestyle. Just now you say, the lifestyle is also needs to be compatible. Okay. So of course, to due to the culture of the dating scene nowadays, and the swiping culture, the social media, the advanced technology, and this has given us a massive amount of choice, right? Like today you swipe this match, and tomorrow you have one more thousand people to swipe, right?
Yeah.
So uh being given so much of choice compared to once upon a time at the village, you can only choose two men, right? You know so limited. Do you think by given such a massive amount of choice, it's easier for us to find the one?
I'd say it makes it easier, but not necessarily to find the one at the first go. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is, yes, you're out there, right? So imagine it's like a billboard. If you have a business and nobody knows about your business, it can be the best business, but hey, nobody knows you have it. So
Okay.
similarly, with all these apps, what we've done is we've created a way where we are now the billboards and we're able to let people know, hi, I'm here. But are those people going to be the compatible matches, do they share your same lifestyle? Do they have the same values as you? It's still going to come back to that. And a big
Mm,
part of that, imagine if someone is so focused on finding someone, right? So they spend a lot of time maybe on these apps, but the apps are texting. It takes away from face to face interaction. And
mm.
imagine if they finally meet the person after 1 or 2 months of chatting and they realize we have no chemistry. We can talk all the time, but we have no chemistry. It just doesn't match. So
Yeah.
that's important too. And what I notice is that a lot of people are so fixated on communicating by text first for a very long time because they say, I want to be very sure before I meet this person. I don't want to
Oh,
waste my time. But what I say to them is, you are wasting your time because you're wasting your time texting someone when you could just say, let's meet. And in
it,
1 hour, you'll already know if you like them, you don't like them. That's
it's true.
all.
It's true. I think you're right. I think when people that this is one scenario when people actually text for too long, and when they finally, and sometimes it's all in their fantasy, right? Like
Yeah.
they think the person is what they thought it would be, but when they meet, it wasn't what they thought. That is scenario one. But scenario two, it can be also they fall in love too soon before really knowing, right? Can it be that way
Yes.
also?
While texting, they already feel, oh, I've made this connection with the person. And just to highlight, it can happen, right? Where when you're just texting someone, there's this connection. And then when you meet them, it's still there. Okay,
Mhm.
that exists. But a lot of the time, what happens is people get so emotionally involved, and some of them haven't even met yet. And they're just texting someone saying, I really care for this person. I think this person's the one, but now you've put yourself in a position to get so hurt because you don't even know yet. You haven't even met them. Do they even feel the same way for you? So that
But
emotional, yes.
but right now it's pandemic. I'm sure a lot of people they can't meet in person. So what is your advice?
Even
Should
though
they
they
do a
can't,
video call?
absolutely, because think about it. You have to adjust, right? If you're texting, you both have phones, you both have Wi Fi. Phone calls are now free. Why
Yeah.
can't you have a phone call? Why can't you have a
Mm,
FaceTime? And from
okay.
there, if you find, okay, we do like each other, let's get a bit creative on this, then you can communicate through your FaceTime, through your texting, chatting, whatsoever. But if you are just texting and texting and texting and never making it a point to meet, where is it going? And even with the pandemic, I've heard a lot of people have gotten so creative. What they've done is they set up first date meetings at the supermarket, so they go grocery
Wow.
shopping together. Yeah, so it's
Wow.
possible, right? But I guess the thing is, you can only do that if you're in the same radius area.
Okay, okay, I see, I see. Yeah. So I think this pandemic has really changed the way we live, the way we date also. And also I think people are making it more creative. I have heard people saying that they go on a first date like a video call and having meal together.
Yes,
So
make it
the boys
creative.
can also grab food and buy the meal for the girls.
Yes,
So yeah.
absolutely, something different.
Uh, So I think, and again, because we have so much of choice, when we finally meet the one, okay, do you think the person will also feel that anxious in a way? Am I sure this is really the one? Because I have so much other 999 choice to choose. So how do that person know whether is this the one that I should delete my apps?
Well, that's a really good question. And the way that I'd like to describe it is like this. You know, when you go into a shoe shop, right? So same for
Yeah.
men and women, you got to buy shoes sometime. There's so much of choice, so much of variety. How
Mm.
do you know which one to buy? You can't spend all day in the shop. You have to make a decision. And at the end of the day, normally what people go for is what suits their style the best. So similarly, if you meet someone and you realize we're so similar. We have similar values. Our lifestyle is similar. Being with this person is easy, it's comfortable. Why not then? What's stopping you? And if there's that fear of, But what if I meet someone better? Okay, you could meet someone better, maybe, but what if you don't? What if you never meet anyone else that's better? What if the person that you choose, and then because you're consistently giving them time, effort, energy, that relationship becomes better? So sometimes what happens is that people have this fear of missing out,
Yeah.
and it actually prevents them from making a choice. But if you're always finding it hard to make a choice, you're never actually giving yourself the opportunity to build a deeper emotional connection.
Mm. I think for relationship that is like 90% compatible, it's easy for you to decide, oh, this must be the one, right? Because the rest is not as compatible. And of course, people who are like 10% compatible, okay, this is not the one. But how about those that is like 50-50? That is the one that I think hard to make decision, because it's like we are not so compatible, but we are okay compatible. So how do you make that choice?
Well, with that, what I'd say is you have the 50% that's working. So you can see there are things that the both of you are very much suitable for each other. But 50% of something not working, that's a pretty big percentage. So
Okay.
probably if both people are very much invested, why not then go seek out some counseling, some couple therapy to understand better why does the 50% that's not working, why does that keep happening? Most of the time what it
Mm.
goes back to is imagine if both of these people they grew up in different households, right? And they probably watch both their parents expressing love in different ways.
Mm.
If one person believes you are showing me love when you are going to give me gifts, and if another person believes, no, I show you love when I spend time with you. So then they're
Mm.
going to be clashing because they don't understand each other's love language. So if both parties can start to understand those things that are causing the 50% to not work, and again, they're invested, they both agree we want it to work, then they can change. But if both say, no, I don't want to change, I'm fine the way how it is, then they're going to have to keep sticking with the 50% good, 50% bad.
I think what you say is really true. Like you should start couple counseling, like even when you start dating, right? Like when you're not sure.
Yes.
You shouldn't start couple counseling when your marriage is like on the rocks, right? So at
No,
least, yeah, at least when you meet someone, if you're not sure, then you can have a third party professional view to guide you through to see whether you can make it, you can work on the relationship, or maybe you're so not compatible that maybe you don't need to waste your time.
absolutely. And because sometimes the person that might, let's say someone who's always yelling in a relationship, and they don't even realize that they immediately deal with conflict by yelling, if there's a third party to already point that out, that that behavior is causing a lot of conflict in the relationship, now this person who's doing that can make a choice, which is okay, I understand I have an issue and I need to work on it so that my relationship can get better. But again, it takes effort and time.
True. True. And of course, nowadays, technology not only changed the way we date, but it also changed the way we have affair, I think, So I think, nowadays, in the modern relationship, affairs are rising. And I think the thing is the internet has made affair accessible, affordable, and, easily. I think even in the dating apps, there's so much of married men there. Uh, so what is your advice in managing affairs?
So, if you look at affairs, it's something that has existed long before technology entered, right? So, we
Okay.
can't blame like these dating apps for it. But at the same time, if someone wants to stray, they're gonna stray, you know?
Okay.
So, rather than putting the focus on worrying or wondering if a person's gonna stray or if they're having an affair, I'd say it's important to bring the focus back to the relationship and to yourself. Because, for example, a
Mm,
relationship is part of your identity, but it should
mm,
not become your whole identity. When that
mm,
happens, that's when people become so worried Oh no, what if my partner cheats on me? Oh no, what if they have an affair? Okay, but what do you actually want for yourself? If I take the partner out of it, don't you have your own goals and dreams and aspirations? Let's focus more on that because that's going to help the person build their own confidence. When someone becomes so confident, what they realize is, I'm a catch. And if my partner cheats on me and doesn't realize that, that's their loss, not my loss. And the other
Mm,
part is, you want to also ask, how can we build on our relationship better? So notice, right? If the focus is on not having an affair, it's going to create a lot of fear, a lot of tension, jealousy in the relationship. But if it's simply, how can we build more trust with each other? How can
mm,
we grow better as a couple? And what are the things that maybe we are not happy about in our relationship? Then
mm.
that's just going to help the relationship grow, and it brings in more happiness too, because again, the focus became on the people in the relationship and not the threat of outsiders.
True, true. I think so. I think a lot of times it's like what you say is about the insecurity of that person, and because you're so insecure and keep on maybe checking and things like that, and you have lost yourself sometimes. uh,
Yeah.
yeah, you have lost yourself in a relationship because you're too attached to it. But what do you think is the common reason people having affair?
So it's very interesting because it's different for men and it's different for women. Like research has shown that for women, the number one reasons why they might have affairs is the emotional intimacy. So they're not getting that from their spouse, they look for it outside. And
Mm,
after that would be the lack of communication. They're just feeling tired or stressed out with their marriage. And then the
mm,
lack of sexual interest. So sometimes I notice you'll see women in the marriage, they look amazing. And then you look at their partner and you wonder, wow, why is she with him? Like they've just let themselves go, you know? And that's where the woman feels, I'm not sexually attracted to my husband anymore. So they
okay.
have an affair. But for
Okay.
men, it was slightly different. I mean, certain elements remain the same, but the ranking was different. For men, it was lack of communication. They just
Okay.
felt that between them and their spouse, there wasn't that same communication anymore. It became a lot more about, oh, have you done this? Have you done that? You know, a lot of just chores. And so that,
True,
yeah,
true.
and that created a lot of stress. Also, sometimes what they found was they, for men, perhaps they wanted to engage in a sexual life with their spouse, but their spouse did not want to anymore. And so that created this tendency of looking for it outside of the marriage. And the last for men was the lack of emotional intimacy. So if you notice,
Mm.
the least bit for the men is actually the first reason for the woman.
Okay, so when we talk about men, I think sometimes a woman, because they are wearing so much of so many different hats, right? They go to work, they are a staff or a worker or a CEO, come back, they are a mom. And I think sometimes they just forget to wear the hats as a lover. So they are acting like they are in the office. They're acting like they are a mom, like ordering, disciplining people, and maybe she's also doing the same to the husband, right? So the
Mhm.
husband is like, I have lost my lover, but I now have a a new mom, you know. So I think part of it, sometimes in our life we are so busy we just forget about you know being a lover. I think same thing to men as well. Sometimes men, because they are so busy with their work and things like that, and they forget to romance their wife. They might come back, and I mean, come back to the kids, ignoring the wife. And every time when talk to the wife, it's like, oh, why do you not clean this house or not clean these things and things like that? It's like they have forgotten the role as a lover.
Absolutely. Because if you look at it, probably when they first got together, that's not what they're talking about, right? They're more invested in each other. And that's very important to give the investment to each other.
Yeah. And also, I think sometimes they have drained themselves so much they have left 0% for the partner. Like they have
Absolutely.
used it up on their work, on their children, on everything else. But when they come to their partner, they have empty battery,
Yes.
right? Okay, so when that, nowadays affair happens, I think 1 or 2 generations ago, we will see that uh, society or people will shame divorce. Like, if you are a divorcee, so people even have affair, they will try to take it, and they will try to stay in a relationship. But I think nowadays it's the opposite. People don't shame divorce, but people actually shame affairs. Like, oh, if your husband has an affair, you should be leaving the husband. Do you
Yeah.
think? Do you think it has changed?
Most definitely, just how society is perceiving divorce has definitely changed. And a big reason for that is think about a few generations ago, right? The normal role was women stay at home, they don't really have jobs perhaps, and the men are the career focused ones who are the breadwinners. So women didn't really have that leg to stand on when they're thinking about, I want to leave, because it's, wait, how am I going to support the kids? How am I going to support myself? But nowadays, women are empowered, CEOs, bosses, doing a lot of things for themselves. So what happens is if a man is cheating or if they're not happy in the marriage, what they realize is I don't need you for this, because if you're adding to my life, but you're adding more stress, I don't need you. And that's why they're more willing to walk. Of
Mm,
course, there's still certain cultures where they say, no, divorce is not an option in our culture or so on. But it's a lot more accepted because women realize I'm not the maid here. My role isn't to just wash the clothes and do the dishes. You have hands too. You can help too.
true, true. So how do we know when should we make up and when should we break up? Like,
Yes, good question. I'd say that if you want to make up, you have to see that there's consistent effort to move forward from both parties. And what I mean by that is imagine if you say, okay, let's make up, let's try to make this work, right? So you go for couples counseling and all that. But imagine if your partner again and again and again keeps doing the same thing. This is a pattern. So this is when you notice it's time to break up. This person is not showing the effort that they want to change. Another red flag, and this would be a sign that it is time to break up, if the affair happened and the person who had the affair, if they cannot accept their fault, that means saying, yes, I had the affair and I'm sorry. So if they say, yeah, I had the affair, but it's because you dot 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 dot, so now they're trying to make themselves the victim and they're trying to blame their spouse for the affair. That's going to create a lot of guilt and anger. So that's not going to work. And the other part would be while men and women can forgive affairs, right? Because women can have affairs too, it doesn't mean that they need to. So someone could say, no, you've just broken my trust and I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. And that's acceptable too. So it really depends on the individuals involved as well.
so if they want to make up, what do you think are the things that they need to do in order to rebuild the trust or rebuild the relationship?
I'd say the first step, there needs to be honesty there. So the person who had the affair has to be open about it, regarding, okay, when did it start? How, all the details, right? Because that's just going to show that the other party then doesn't have to be wondering about this or that. But the next step from there, go get help from a professional. The reason being, there's going to be so much of emotions here. And
To,
when
to
trying to fix something with emotions running high, words might be said or things might not be handled in the best way. It might create more harm. But when you have someone there, third party, they're going to be able to help to assist you better, to communicate better, and from there rebuild.
Yeah, I think it's true. I think getting professional helps is really important because when you're so emotionally hurt, you might you might keep on digging and digging and digging. What happens in the relationship? Is she better? Is she prettier? Is she? There's so thousands of questions you wanted to be answered, and sometimes this answer you do not want to know if you want to continue the relationship. Because the more you know, it might cause you more hurt, and it might be hard for you to recover. So I think getting professional helps is really important, so that they can guide you and help you to process through the grief and the loss of trust and etc. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So and nowadays there are more and more couples who are having a sexless marriage. So when we are talking about sexless marriage, means they have less than 10 times sex in a year. Do you think sex is important in a relationship?
So, sex, it can be the glue in relationships because, in a way, without it, it's just couples are like housemates living together, doing chores, right? And raising kids, perhaps. But the thing about this is that sex means something different for different people. And in that way, we want to look at the couple themselves. Let's say for one couple, they feel I'm okay with having sex once a month. And both people, the male and the female, they are fine. They're not distressed by that. Then that's okay. But imagine if in another relationship, the female wants to have sex once a week and the male wants to have sex once a month. That is already going to create distress in the relationship because now the female's needs are not being met. So we have to look at what does sex mean for that couple and how much do they want, because
Mm.
if you're dating someone and you can already see sex life totally not compatible, that's not going to change when you get married.
But what happened if when dating, this guy wants 3 to 4 times a week, and later on, after married, he only wants it once or twice a month. So it's quite a big gap. That's what I usually see in most of my couple who come from sexual health treatment. So it's like before marriage, the guy wants 3 or 4 times a week. I mean, maybe the relationship are still fresh. He is still young, the hormonal are still high. And after marriage, especially after 10 years, long-term relationship, then he only wants it once or twice a month. I mean,
So,
for a
yeah.
woman, I think sometimes they will feel like, am I not attractive or what? Right?
So, on that aspect, it can definitely lead to feeling very insecure, especially if sex has become important. See, they've placed, oh, if we're having more sex, that means my partner is attracted to me. But at the same time, sometimes men just say, actually, I'm just really stressed out with work. Actually, I'm just really
Mm,
tired. I only have the mood when I'm feeling relaxed, which doesn't
mm,
happen much because of work. So, in that instance, very important for couples to have that honest conversation with each other, which is just, hey, I'm noticing that we're not having as sex as frequently as before. I'm feeling insecure. Is it that you're not attracted to me? But then, if the partner already says, no, it's not that I am attracted to you, see, now the other person needs to accept that as well. And if
mm,
they don't, then they need to have a look in the mirror and ask themselves, is it that they themselves are not feeling happy with how they look? And
mm,
now, when they notice the change in the sex life, it's emphasizing, yep, because maybe they go, oh, I've gained weight, or maybe, something or another has changed, right? But that should then also lead to the focus coming back on the person. How can they rebuild their own confidence?
mm. And I think another issue is also when a man, maybe some at their 40s, some at their 50s, they start to have performance anxiety. Like they're afraid that they can't perform. Maybe they are not as good as they are in their 20s. So they have this anxiety. And sometimes I realize they don't tell their wife, and they start to get distance with their wife. And their wife will also start building resentment. Just like not communicating about it is really a huge problem, I guess. And
Absolutely.
and usually, I think it's also very hard for a man to tell the wife that, oh, I think I have erectile dysfunction.
It could also be because for men, right, they place so much of their masculinity on the performance or lack of performance. So to actually say it's not functioning as well as it used to, that's not an easy pill to swallow. But by simply communicating that to their wife, it's going to help the wife also understand what they're going through, which can help them build on emotional intimacy. And at the same time, it takes the stress and the anxiety off the table.
True, true. I think a lot of times, we as women, it's not so much on the act of sex, but it's the intimacy. I think the emotional intimacy. But when you start to be distant to your wife without telling her that you are stressed out or are having a performance anxiety, then she will be thinking like she will be feeling insecure. I think that should be the word. She will be feeling insecure. She will be thinking, are you having an affair? Am I not attractive enough? Why are you not having desire on me anymore? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, how can we ease that conversation? I
Like
think
vigorous.
it's hard.
For men and women, something that's really important, I'd say that if you're already in your marriage, you should start to have some sort of a monthly check in. So like
Okay.
every month, you're making it a point to maybe bring up
Mm,
elements that you're feeling insecure about or anxious about. And why is that? If you address something in the first month, it doesn't have the power to simmer and become bigger and then blow up by the 12th month. But a lot
mm,
of people, what they do is
mm,
they already acknowledge something has changed, but they
mm,
don't say anything. And think
mm,
about it. If you can't be open and honest with the person you're in a relationship with, is that a healthy relationship? Because communication, trust, respect, these are all very important to have. So if someone feels, I'm scared to say this to my partner because my partner might not understand me, okay, maybe then that's where you consider again, right? Maybe we have a professional come in so that we can better manage this conflict or just this anxiety that we're going through. And with that, you learn how to build as a couple, because if the focus is on not sharing individual worries, it's going to drive a wedge in the relationship. One
mm.
person's going to feel a disconnect.
I think it's really important to have this monthly check-in. Like in good times, you already train both of you all to communicate, and check in all the time. And when things get tough, it become a ritual that you all do it often, and
Mhm.
maybe it will ease the conversation easier. So don't only talk when there's a problem. I think especially when women say, I need to talk to you, then the man will feel like, oh, what did I do wrong, right? So
Yes.
if you always check in all the time, I think then you will take off the anxiety from the man as well. Because every time a woman say, I need to talk to you, it's like the man has done something wrong.
Yes, so it's also important to give compliments when compliments are needed. Like if you really liked, oh wow, today my partner was so nice and sweet to me, say that, oh, I really noticed you made such an effort to be sweet to me today and I really liked it. Then your partner will know, wow, this is what this person likes. Maybe I can do a bit more of that. But if it's always focused on, yeah,
Do you think this is an Asian problem where we don't give enough compliments?
to an extent, sometimes it seems like we keep the compliments to ourselves and we only give the criticism. But imagine, right? What would someone feel like? They're in a relationship and all they hear sometimes is, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. So it's going to make them feel, I'm not valued, I'm not appreciated here. Again, opens up the door to, okay, maybe I'm not good enough for you, but someone else thinks I'm good enough. That's also how a lot of affairs stem, because people just feel appreciated and heard and seen by somebody else outside of the marriage.
And also, I think staying curious to your partners, like when you meet each other new, you always like you are very curious about that person, you are interested and things like that. But when you are so long with your partner for so long, like you've known the person inside out, and you're no longer curious about that person, right?
Yes, it happens because we get so familiar with that person. But think about that. If that person is so important to you, you also have to make it a point to keep that romance and the chemistry and the spice there. As soon as you just let it become bland, That's what you're going to start feeling. But both people need to put in the effort for that. It can't just be one person all the time making the effort.
Sure. I think sometimes people just get lazy, right? Like just get complacent and lazy and not putting effort. And one day you just realize, what we have become. I think,
Mhm.
yeah, putting routines and certain rituals in your relationship is really important to keep that that spark or that passion in the relationship. Okay,
Yes.
so some relationship people feel alive, right? And some relationship they just think, okay, we are not dead. So how do we shift from surviving to thriving in a relationship?
Say the first thing is you have to connect with one another. You can be in a marriage for 30 years, but it doesn't mean that you're in a marriage that is thriving. Like you said, it's just surviving. So the first element, connecting with one another, communication is key. And the next part, have fun. If you're not having fun with the person, it's like you feel that you're just in this boring element of your life. But if you're in a marriage where you feel there are fun things, we do things that we both like. Maybe sometimes you're not going to meet someone that likes everything that you like to do, but at least then find the things that you both like to do together. And it's very important to have that adventure. Maybe the both of you just try something new every month, something out of your comfort zone, because there's so many things to explore. But if you're always doing the same thing again and again and again, you'll form a routine. And
Mm.
sometimes that's what happens, right? You're in the routine for so long that you look at the other person and go, what have we become? Because we don't have that connection. We were so focused on getting things done, we forgot to just have fun. So I'd say communication, very important, but also to ensure there are boundaries, there's respect, there's trust, there's support. And it
Mm.
has to be something where both are feeling uh, they're feeling excited. When you see your partner, you feel I'm excited to see my partner, not oh yeah, this person again.
So I think what you say is true, like having fun. A lot of people just forget how to play, right? Just they are so used to routine, being a mom and things like that, and they just forget how to play, and you just lost the playfulness in you. So it's really important to maintain that playfulness. And just now you're talking about boundaries. I think it's also important. Sometimes we just think that we can dump everything to our partners, but it's also important to have boundaries. Like if I'm not having a good day, I also don't hope that my partner is throwing everything to me, because it's not a good day to throw everything to me today, right? So these are also boundaries. So can we talk a little bit about boundaries? Because I think sometimes couple, they just take each other for granted, and they just tends to throw everything on that person.
Yes, they do what's called emotional dumping. It's like, let me tell you everything that happened in my day, but did you even stop to ask your partner, are you in a mental headspace where you feel you can take on my baggage? And maybe the person might just say, actually, no, I'm not. I need time for myself right now. And that's what boundaries is all about. You're not trying to hurt the person, you're just trying to let them know, I love you, but I need this time for myself now. But at a later time or a later date, that's when I can talk to you about X, Y, and Z.
I think that needs a lot of maturity. And I think that should be set in the early of the relationship. Like from the start, you should learn how to set boundaries, so that as this continues, the person will not feel like, why are you neglecting my feelings? I am so sad now, and you are telling me that you're not in the right state of mind to listen to me.
Yes. And that's a lot of pressure, then again, right? That you put on the partner. Because think about it, especially in marriages, then you're already responsible for the children, their physical needs, their emotional needs. And suddenly now you're feeling, oh my gosh, and I'm responsible for my partner's emotional needs is too much. So that's why it's really important, even as individuals. You might say that your marriage is doing great. Why not then, as individuals, go get your own therapist so that when you're not having a good day, you can already have that check in with your therapist who, guess what? You are paying to listen to everything. They can't say to you, sorry, I'm not free right now. Sorry, I'm having a bad day now. No, that's not going to happen. And when you take that pressure off of your partner, you'll realize, hey, we have so much more battery left for each other to talk about things that make us feel excited.
True. I think, yeah, you're right. If you have so much of emotional baggage, you shouldn't be dumping that emotion to your partner all the time. Get a therapist and talk it through and process it so that you give her some happy moment as well, rather than just dumping all the emotion to her. Yeah, I think that is really a good advice. If you have so much of emotional baggage, go and look for a therapist, not dump everything to your partners.
Yes.
Okay. So, then we talk about routine and ritual. Like if you want to be successful in life or in a business, you need to have certain discipline. You need to certain routine or certain ritual to make yourself successful. But do you think in a relationship, you should also have routine and ritual?
To some extent, yes, because here's the gray area, right? Too much routine can equal boredom, but
Yeah.
certain types of routine equal success. Meaning, if you're in a marriage, if you're in a relationship, at least make it a point morning and night. There's a good morning, there's a good night. At least once a day, you need to at least be showing some sort of physical affection, a kiss, a hug. And these are
Yeah.
things that you have to track because if not, the chances are it might become, oh, how did we get so distant? Because we didn't realize. So when the routine is such that you make it a point to be affectionate with your partner or each day to let your partner know one thing that you really loved about them or really enjoyed about spending time with them, that helps to build the connection. And again, when you're focusing a lot on what's going right, it takes away from what's not going right because the two of you are consistently building on love and appreciation and admiration with one another. And I would definitely recommend have the monthly check-in because that monthly check-in is going to help each other understand, right? Maybe the husband thinks our marriage is great, everyone's so happy in the marriage. But imagine if the wife is like, no, I'm not happy. You never wash the dishes and you always throw your clothes everywhere. So that 1 month check in that moment, you can already resolve it instead of it becoming something bigger as the months go by.
Is it true that usually couples who come for therapy, they are usually women, and usually men are usually happy with their marriage? It's just that they are so unhappy because the wife is so unhappy about him.
A lot of times that is what I hear. The husband will be saying, no, everything's fine in the marriage, but it's just that my wife keeps saying this and this and this isn't going
Yeah.
well, but I don't see it. And normally, what it is, again, it comes back to the emotional intimacy. And a lot of the times, it's also about spending time together, doing activities that they like. So sometimes the wife feels you never want to go out and do things together. It's all about watching TV. And while it's okay to watch Netflix together all the time, when it's all the time, one person, the wife, is also feeling there's no passion. It's just, and like I said, it's just people living together like housemates then.
I think like the love language that you mentioned, I think is important. If you know that your partner is a physical touch person, then you know that every day you should hug and kiss your partner. That should be a routine that you set into your relationship, right? So that
Absolutely.
your partner will feel her love tank is being filled up because you always remember to hug and kiss her or touch her. Yeah. Or
Yes.
people who with words of affirmation, then it's really important for you to say good things about them on almost a daily basis. So I
Yeah,
think that would be quite a good routine. Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. So, and of course, currently pandemic tends to strain many relationships. And, usually, as you know, disaster and crisis, sometimes it will act as a relationship accelerator. Okay. So some people will suddenly realize, oh, life is short. I don't want to live like this anymore. Right? Or they suddenly realize, okay, life is short. Let's get married. Life is short. Let's have a kids. Or life is short. I don't want to be with you anymore.
Yes.
So how do you think, will they be making, like not rational decision at this point of time, or should they counsel somebody before they do such a rush decision?
So, seeking professional help there can be very helpful, but at the same time, you have to understand if someone has already made up their mind, like 150%, they don't want to be in the relationship, no amount of help or therapy is going to get the person to change because they've checked out. So it
True.
can only work if both people acknowledge, okay, fine, our relationship, our marriage, it has issues, but we
Mm,
both want to make it work. We want to find a way through it. Then it
mm,
can work. Then therapy is very helpful. And another
mm,
part that couples can do by themselves, actually start to already become aware of what are your expectations of a marriage. Because if one person is expecting, I just want companionship, and if
mm.
another person is expecting, I want you to be my Superman or Superwoman, it's not going to happen. It's just two people now are in the marriage for different reasons. So, as soon as you can become very clear on the goal, what you want your marriage to look like, it's like designing a house, right? There's so many different ideas, but you have to pick one idea. And
Yeah.
that's what you commit to. So, same with couples, you need to ask yourself, do you both like each other's personality traits? Because sometimes you say, oh, I'm sure they'll change. No, they won't change. Whatever they see is probably going to get worse because that's just who they are, unless they actually change that behavior, which takes a lot of time. And so, what I'd say is, you think you can live with something for 1 year. You'll say, I can put up with it. But suddenly, if someone says, this person is never going to change, this is what they're going to be for 50 years, suddenly people go, I can't do it. No way. Because you see, their expectation was maybe this person will change.
Yeah, I think, but also many people doesn't know what is their goal or what is their relationship goal. So sometimes they will just do so much of comparison, especially with social medias nowadays. Like the husband is or the wife is never good enough because they keep on comparing. Like you say, you see hundred thousands of house design. You need to decide what is the design that you want, right? So if you don't decide, like any design will not fit, will not make you feel fulfilled or satisfied, right? So
Yes. And also, if you look at that, a big part of it becomes the comparison game. Every relationship is different. Maybe for me, I don't care if I don't talk to my partner for almost 1 day, maybe, because I'm busy. But
yeah,
imagine someone else who goes, no, I need you to check in with me, around 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. and 8 p.m. Oh my God. Imagine someone who's just so busy. They're going to
yeah,
feel you're too needy. I can't do that. And
yeah.
that's why it's so important to check in with expectations. Are they realistic or not?
Okay, that's really good advice. I think today we really get a lot of good advice from you. I think to sum it up, I think one is to get couple counseling early, because
Yes.
a lot of times people go for counseling when the partner is already checked out, so they already make up their mind. They are not open to repair the relationship. It might be too late. So it's always good to start it early, even as early as your dating time. Okay. And of course, just now, you had also mentioned about monthly check-in. I think when you're talking about monthly check-in, should it be a date, or should be, I mean, like a date, or should be should it just be like a meeting, like you sit down
Okay.
and you talk to each other?
So for the monthly check-in, think about it like a meeting, right? Where you're actually just going to discuss that. But regarding dates, at least once a week. Once a week
Okay.
you have your date time. You schedule couple time. That's important.
Okay, so the monthly check-in, you should be doing it like a meeting, right? Like appraisal, like how can you improve, right? Yeah,
Yes,
area.
essentially, yeah, essentially it's like, okay, just 3 points maybe. These are the three things, the highlights of the month in the relationship, what I really liked about you. These are the things that I felt I didn't enjoy in the relationship. And then also maybe giving a bit of feedback to the partner. Like example, if someone's love language is words of affirmation, right? And maybe they might say to the partner, I wish that you would compliment my body a bit more because I'm a bit insecure about my body and I'd love if you could just give me more compliments. So that helps each other understand better what's going to build the relationship in a healthier manner.
And I realize most of the time, women are very eager to do things like that, but the men are usually not so much. So how
Yeah.
can we encourage the men to participate?
So the reason as well why men are not so open to doing that is because a lot of times certain, not all men, right, but certain men, they find it very hard to talk about emotions and feelings. So for
Mm.
them, it's like, I don't know what to say. I don't know, what to actually contribute. But if people can word it in such a way of, listen, what's important for you to get more peace of mind, to get more happiness? If we do this, it'll probably lead to that. So it becomes a win-win for both parties.
Okay, good. Really have get a lot of tips from you today. Any final words before we end today's Facebook Live?
I'd say the last thing is just, a relationship, it's not a community project. Other people don't have to approve of your relationship and they don't need to understand your relationship. As long as you and your partner are happy, that's all that matters. The outside voices, just drown them out.
Mm. Okay, thank you very much. So today we have Shereen with us, and she does all sorts of counseling. And her counseling sessions will be 350 ringgit per sessions. And usually, when you go for counseling, you don't only go for one session, right? So you usually go for a package. Okay, so she has a Merdeka package right now, which is 2299 for 10 sessions. So right now during pandemic, if you are feeling overwhelming, you think your mental health is struggling and things like that, go and look for Shereen. Okay. So I think get help early rather than too late. Okay. So thank you very much, Shereen. Thanks for your time and thanks audience for their time. And
Thanks.
please share us and like us. If you think there's anybody who is can benefit from this Facebook, tag them in also. Thank you, Shireen.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.